What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Apex, the podcast. The boys are here. We are ready to go. And we have Naughty later on here on the pod, about an hour-long interview. It was awesome. Great to talk to Naughty. Dude is locked in, lasered in. He's ready to get into the next chapter here. So you're going to want to listen to all of that. But before we get into Naughty, we got some news, and we got to check in with all the boys. Let's check in with, I'm going to go with Finn today. Finn, how are you doing?
Wow, thank you, Wyatt. I appreciate that. I'm good. Pretty solid week. We are working towards, I'm talking about with Georgia, my dog. We are working towards getting it to where she can just like roam around the house or around my duplex. As of right now, I've given her more space, but she's doing a lot better, which is really good. She's biting less things, which is also really good. So overall, in the dad dog department, I'm doing really, really well. When it comes to Apex, I have not played that much since not going you have to be playing a lot if you're trying to go for pred. And for right now, since I'm not going for pred, there's not really, I don't really vibe with, pubs. I don't really do pubs. I might do a control game, like a mixtape game. I love that. But as of right now, this is a real question for you two boys as well. I am on an OSRS grind, old school RuneScape, and I got back into it. My friends are back into it, like my IRLs. And because of that, I have been grinding my face off. 2.5 million XP in the past week. And for some, that's like not that crazy. But for me, it is nuts. I've been nothing but like farm runs and, training agility. I sound like an absolute nerd. And, but I've been playing OSRS is what I'm trying to say. And I never played OSRS. Whenever I was a kid, I would always like make an account at my school computer and then forget the password and email and stuff. But now as an adult, I am playing OSRS, a game that was made, in 2007 or earlier. So that's what I've been doing this week. Been grinding. For those that listen to our show and also have played OSRS or do currently, I'm not necessarily saying I'll take a handout, but I could get my prayer XP up if you guys give me some money, but you know what? You don't have to do that. But we can talk about it. Hit my DMs if you're playing OSRS and you listen to the show and you want to, eventually do some raids together. Anyway,
I can't believe you just did that.
Yeah,
I can't believe you just did that. Honestly, you're shameless. Listen, you're using your power for all the wrong reasons here. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I did get all my armor stolen from me in RuneScape. I fell for one of the.
You got scammed?
Yeah, I got scammed. I got scammed when I was a kid. What's the one right below Rune? What's the armor right before Rune? It's like Emerald or something. What was it?
Adamant.
Adamant. Yeah. So I had full Adamant, and then I had a Rune half helm. And this guy was like, bro, I'll fucking trim it for you. And I was like 10.
Oh, no.
And I was like, dude, how nice is this guy? How nice is he? So I fucking gave it to him. And then he was like, ha ha. And he started running around. And I was chasing him. I was like, hey. And then that was like my first real taste of like the world isn't fair. And trying to explain that to my dad so he could arrest this man was very difficult to do. Like, it was not an easy thing to explain to him. And to him, he was like, well, that's stupid. Just get the armor again. I was like, I can't just get the armor again, Dad.
He stole it. I gave it to him voluntarily.
So it was, tough day for me. I learned a lot, though. It changed my childhood, set me on a different course. Who knows where I am if I don't have my old school RuneScape armor stolen from me. But yeah, so yeah.
Wait, Enoch, how are you doing? Wait, hold on. Can I ask, E, did you play OSRS?
No. Never.
You missed out.
All right. Okay. All right.
Got my first girlfriend there. I'm just kidding. I was just kidding.
My first girlfriend was on Club Penguin.
Like 35-year-old dude.
Yeah. I just went in the town hall and I was like looking for GF for free. Got one. So there we go.
For free.
35 gold. No. E, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Just got done with my wedding marathon of a weekend, as I had my mom's wedding on Friday, and then I had my best friend's wedding on Monday, and so got through it. Had a nice little trip to Florida. That was nice. Got to go on some morning walks on the beach. Got to take some cold plunges. Was great. Was nice. And now I'm back at the office, putting in the work, and I'm excited to get to work. And it's building season, and I know I say that every time I hop on this pod, but it's in building season, and I'm really thankful to be in the position that I'm in, and whether things are like up and down, I'm still here and I'm doing the thing, and it's cool. And I just got into the TikTok like creative fund beta, which is a thing, which is a very nice, I don't know how they do it, but you just get a lot more money than any other videos on their creator fund type deal. And so I've got a bunch of videos that I've been super bad about posting, and it could be that it works out really, really well for me, because if I know I got some bangers that are just sitting there waiting to get posted. And when I start lobbing 3 a day at the talk, I'm excited to see where how things are looking in terms of revenue, because it could be a huge additional source of income for something that is typically just a straight up cost of doing business when you don't want to do your own editing. And so yeah, I'm doing well, nothing to complain about, and yeah, that's where I'm at. How are you, Wyatt?
I'm doing good, bro. I'm doing good. You can take me off the not tatted roster. Check this sleeve out. Look at that. See that? You got to check that out on the YouTube. If you're not listening on the YouTube, you have no idea what I'm talking about, and that's very embarrassing for you. You should go check this out on the YouTube. Maybe even subscribe. Full tats here. Got a hula girl on my hand. People say getting a tattoo on your hand is bad if you're trying to get a job. Listen, I just sent it. That's where I'm at. I just sent it. I believe in my abilities. I believe in my talent. So I'm team tatted. No, I'm just kidding.
That's on your right hand too, right?
Yeah, I'm left-handed.
That's your shaking hand.
Yeah, dude. It took me forever as a left-handed person to get used to using my right hand for handshakes. That's another thing. Took me forever. Took me years.
Wait, did you used to when you were young? Would you walk up to people and
with
put
my left
out
hand.
your left hand?
Yeah. Dude.
Dude, how long did you do that for? Because there's got to be like
Forever.
nobody that would ever do it back, right?
Yeah, it's been recent that I decided not to. Actually, one of my bosses, I reached out with my left hand, like out of old habits. And he was like, you know what? He was like, why'd you do that? I was like, I'm left-handed, sorry. And he's like, nah, whenever we see each other, we're shaking left hand. And I was like, nice. So it could work out for you. No, so
another thing that scarred you when you were a kid.
Yep,
RuneScape hacking, and then having to figure out how to shake with your right hand and not your left.
Nobody can say I didn't live a full life. I'll tell you that much. No, it's been an interesting last week. Had an old professor of mine DM me for like some job offers, which I was not expecting, and she was like my favorite professor of all time, and to think that she took time out of her busy day to DM me was very, very cool. And so I interviewed for that. I think I did good. I don't think I'm going to get it, but I think it was good practice. And so that was really cool. And they want me considered for some other jobs around the field as well. So it's not even a complete loss if I don't get it. So that's really cool. That was like a good part of my week. I've also dived heavy into The Sopranos. I'm almost finished, and I can confidently say it's like my favorite show I've ever watched. So that's been cool. Other than that, I haven't really done a whole lot other than get these fake tattoos all over my arms. I think I might just keep redoing them over and over. My daughter puts them on me, and I was trying to make a full sleeve, so I think I might keep doing that. That's my entire week. That is basically it. Pretty eventful, pretty crazy, and yeah. But not as crazy though as Apex right now. Lots of stuff.
I'm not gonna lie.
In Apex.
100%. I thought that they were. I thought you just.
You thought they were real?
When you said you sent it, I'm not gonna. I was like, my first initial reaction was like,
terrible tattoo to send it on.
Like, why did he do that? Like, I mean, like, But I was like, you know what? I respect it, and I was going to support you as your friend in your decision.
So you don't
that
like
had
the hula
made.
girl? You don't like it?
It was
You
a
don't like this
bold
hula-
move for me. a bold play.
I'm just happy you thought they were real, to be honest. Like, I'm just happy you thought these things were legit. Actually, this anchor one, kind of sick. Kind of sick. And the mermaid, not bad. Not great, but like
You're
not
spoiling. You're spoiling.
bad. Yeah, no. They still don't understand. They have to come
It's a
and see it.
tease. It's a tease. And
Yeah.
now they're like, wow, he thought they were real. I have to go look and
yeah,
see
that's
what they.
true. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. So if you want to see me #Team Tatted, I will be here on the YouTube, which you can come and subscribe to and check out. You can see all of our beautiful faces.
you can comment if you thought they were real or not.
And which one was
let
your
us know.
favorite?
That's
Yeah.
actually, that's big.
Yeah. So we got, okay, I'll show them all, but I won't say it out loud, even though I've already said it. Okay.
That's A, B, C. Poor sightlines on D.
I'll do this.
I got it. Yeah, we got it.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
Okay, and you're not even going to believe this one. Hold up.
Oh, wait.
I thought we were about to see like tramp stamp type
did-
vibe.
Nah.
Yeah, I did too.
Like,
I wish.
Wyatt got up from his
No,
chair.
like, this man stood up.
I thought he was about to moon the whole. Like,
What a move that would be. No
Yeah.
podcast has ever done that before.
Yeah. I was
There's
thinking like
definitely one that has.
we're
100%
getting
gotta
no
be.
ad revenue
There's
for this
gotta be
one.
some.
So.
Yeah, so great week for me. Apex stuff. We got a lot of Apex news. We've got new teams forming. We've got new players going to different teams. We've got new teams being signed by some orgs that are getting back into the game. Not a whole lot on the front of just watching everybody play. It's all kind of been, pretty much the same. Weird things going on here and there. Certain teams playing a little bit better than usual. Certain teams playing a little worse than usual. But Finn, if you want to run through some of these roster changes real quick and get us prepared for this, hit it.
Yep. Okay, so Al was playing with Wild Card, which is Shuby and Madness. I think they did really well in scrims recently, so I think that is looking like that might stick. Lou's been playing with Dupe and Funk, I think. I'm pretty sure. Or no. It might have been Koiful. I think it was Koiful actually. So Lou's playing with Dupe and Koiful. Naughty is obviously with Tech and Lux, and we'll get into more deets with him in the interview. You'll have to stick around for that. As of recent, DC has not looked well in international scrims. Kind of been losing their contests, which is not looking good for LAN. But that being said, international scrims, different ping, different game on LAN, and we know DZ does tend to show up whenever it matters most. TSM hasn't been able to scrim until today. And I think they did actually look pretty good today whenever they did get to scrim, which is not surprising. I was talking to a buddy of mine named Josh. Shout out Josh. And we were discussing that TSM might have the best on the fly improvisation when it comes to how they play the game and how they maneuver around like tough situations in game. And I think that comes down to Hal and Rep's synergy and just how smart they are as individuals. Anyway, a little side tangent. I think Enemy and Prophet are playing with Timmy. So it looks like they are going to be doing like the CC as well, which is interesting to see. Is like, I don't know. That team is, I love Timmy, but I don't know who's going to IGL that team. Like, there's not a hard IGL. Enemy and Prophet are both fraggers, and Timmy is, he used to be a fragger and maybe is trying to get into that IGL role. I don't know. And I'm interested to see how that ends up working out. Also, it is funny because Enemy announced with Hill and Synox that he was like going to step down from competitive, and now is teaming with Timmy and Prophet. So interesting. I think Hal went back on the tweet that Hill said that Enemy was stepping down, and then Hal responded like 7 days later and goes, "Yeah, he's definitely stepping down for sure." And so that's pretty funny. But yeah, that is around the league. I'm sure I'm missing stuff, but that is what it's been, I guess, from a broad perspective on Apex. A lot of people are just doing international scrims, multiple blocks, people figuring out where they're wanting to land per group, and just getting the feel of how people play. Granted, we know from pretty much every single international scrim leading into LAN that a lot of this stuff is pretty meaningless because people do not play the same at LAN comparatively to what they play online. But interesting to see, interested to keep looking at as we continue to go forward. We're about a month and a week away, Wyatt, from LAN. So
We got some time. And I mean, we can sit here and speculate how each of these teams are going to do it. Like, we're just going to have to wait and see exactly how it's going to work out when we start getting into the next phase of this whole thing. But which team is there a team that stood out to you, or there was a roster move that stood out to you that you were like, okay, this is legit, like this is crazy?
Yeah, I think Alb going to playing with Madness. I think my initial thought was, man, that team is going to blow up like a burning star whenever they actually begin to have conflict. But as of right now, it doesn't seem like they're having very much. A lot of these teams are in honeymoon phases, so nothing is too big of a deal. But I don't know. I'm not saying it can't happen. I think hard IGLs has been successful for Alb, and maybe this is the switch up that he needs. I will say it does feel like Alb's maybe confidence has sort of played into, I don't know. I feel like Alb stock has gone down, but I don't know if that's necessarily all of his fault. And Naughty gets into it and said that he thinks Alb actually made the most progress out of any pro player. So I mean, that in itself is probably a good thing for him to kind of have a start over. But I'm a little nervous about the personalities of the wildcard team. Basically, just Madness and Alb butting heads. But if he can get hard IGL'd by Madness, I think that they can be pretty good, considering he's been successful whenever Hal has been his hard IGL and Zach's been his hard IGL. You know what I'm saying? So I think there are bright spots for Alb, and as long as he continues to keep playing, I think that team has a shot to do well. Yeah, but I do feel bad for Madness. I feel like he's always had different thirds randomly, just like throughout, and has done pretty well. He's kind of like Tech in that regard, where he's pretty good at picking up pretty solid talent and developing it, but he can't seem to like keep it. But
his is a little bit different than I think Tex, because I feel like Tex is
yeah.
more like he hasn't had an org and they have an opportunity to join an org in front of them, where it seems like Madness is always a part of an org and it just something falls apart,
Yeah, I think it's actually a really good point. I definitely, they're not the same category, but I feel like sometimes it's the same result. But it's not always necessarily their fault. But yeah, I think you make a solid point that it's not always, they're definitely not the same. But I don't know. I want Alb to do well. I think Alb is really good for the scene. I think his personality, I think the way that he conducts himself is pretty, for the most part, is pretty solid. I don't know. He's just good for the Apex scene. I think he's good vibes. So I want to see them do well, but we'll see. There's a lot of practice. There's a lot of trying out things and contests and going on right now. And this is the off season that we thought was going to happen. I also think there's going to be a lot more movement that ends up happening after the LAN. So keep your eyes out for that. I mean, but it's like a ticking time bomb type of deal. We're just waiting for LAN to happen. And then after that, some major roster changes are probably going to be happening.
One thing about Alb too, going back to your point, Finn, was that when he came on the show, he was very like insightful upon himself. Like, he had some things that he was like, yeah, maybe I should have done this differently. Maybe I should have done that differently. When you get dealt a bad hand, or you go into a bad situation, or maybe not even bad, but just a situation that didn't work for you multiple times, I think it's not like, it's human nature to get down on yourself. Like, if you were consistently going to a new team every single time, or say you go to a new job every single time and something happens and then you're out, right? And in any situation, I feel like even the most confident person would have thoughts of self-doubt. So I think for him, it's like, this keeps happening over and over and over again, and you've already tasted success and you're trying to get back to that. Probably not the easiest road, but all it takes is one, solid move, one solid place to go. We've seen it before in sports where a guy seemingly can't find his luck, and then he goes to another team or another situation and does really well. One that stands out to me is like Odell Beckham Jr. with the Browns. Like, really had like a weird time with the Browns after being really, really, probably people were considering him, the GOAT, like the greatest of all time, at a very young age with the Giants. He goes to the Browns, doesn't go well. Then he gets traded midway through the season to the Rams, is a key part of that Super Bowl win, catches a touchdown in the Super Bowl, obviously gets injured, but a huge part, because before he got injured, the Bengals weren't stopping the Rams. And so this could be something that Al needs. He just needs to go to a team where maybe things are a little bit different for him, and all of a sudden he finds himself in a better spot. So just something to think about, because when he came on here, he was definitely like insightful. And then in this interview, like you said, Naughty said there's nobody who worked harder on himself than Alb throughout that entire thing. And to have a teammate say that about you when things didn't go well, I think bodes really well for how hard you've been working.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's pretty high praise from Naughty, because Naughty's pretty knowledgeable. He is a loyal guy, but I think he's loyal to the people that he thinks are like honorable enough to be loyal to, if that makes sense. Anyway, I also am a little like, I'm rooting for Al, because I mean, we all know that he stopped being under the banner of TSM. Like, he took a chance of not, taking a content creator salary from a very large org so that he could be a part of the same banner as his teammates. So like, I want to see him do well for that regard too, and it seems like he with this wild card thing will be under the same banner, but I just don't want. I just want to see what does this team look like a month down the line. Like, are they more cohesion and like personalities aren't clashing? I think a lot of that depends on how successful they are. So I don't know. It's weird. It's hard to see. It's hard because there's a lot of teams that just stop, and I think the LANimals was kind of part of this. Is an example of this, where three really solid players, but they stop like working towards being better in a way. Like, they stop progressing, and because of that, like, they just like kind of give up, and then they look for different options. But there's always going to be adversity whenever you're in a team, and like a super team or whatever, but you have to work through those kinks. I don't know. I think Watson made a pretty interesting post a long time, well, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, talking about how you have to like stick it out through the tough parts. Like, like it's like a puzzle piece type of deal. Anyway, yeah.
Well, I mean, sometimes you have those situations, and then sometimes you have situations where no matter how much you want a team to work out and be successful, you're not going to see it. And I think that if you look at, I mean, we just had Naughty. When we look at the end of his C9 days and the Alb situation, it was clear that Zach, Alb, and Naughty weren't able to put it together as a trio, despite being incredibly talented. And they gave it multiple splits, and they gave it like multiple seasons to try to make it work and put it together. And it was just something that never ended up working out. And so could that team have pulled it together if they had kept working? Potentially. But would it have taken too long in order for that to happen. Well, clearly, at least from the perspective of looking back at it now, it appears that it took too long if it was going to happen, like if it could.
I think that's an interesting.
It's such a tough thing, and that's why whenever it comes down to this sort of thing, it's such like a team by team basis, and I feel like it really comes down to what are the problems that are coming up and causing a team to not be successful.
Yeah. I think I see both sides of the coin, right? I see this team could have been successful if they worked through the kinks, but they didn't end up doing it. They just quit on their team and then they looked for something else. But there's also, I do agree with you where there's like, okay, there are a lot of personality issues and like distrust. So therefore there is no progression that can be made. So I get that.
Yeah, so lots of roster changes, lots of things going on in the scene right now. Still kind of a little bit the off season though. Still kind of waiting for some things to take shape, and I can't wait for the guests that are going to be coming on when we get closer to this LAN. It's going to be so awesome. I cannot wait. It's going to be great. We can get back into our prediction hats, and dude, I can't wait. The predictions are my favorite part. The predictions are my favorite part. I cannot wait. Okay, we're going to throw it on down to my man, StayNaughty. He is here. Very serious. He is very ready to go. He is locked in, and he's got a lot to say. And so we're going to hit a quick ad, and on the other side, you can hear him say it. Let's get it. All right, ladies and gents, he's back for the second time ever on the Apex the podcast. We have StayNaughty back on the show. Not only is he StayNaughty, he is now MeatLovers Naughty on the show. Announcement just came out today. You are now officially joining MeatLovers with Tech and Luxford, and you got Darkside as your guys' coach.
Yes, sir.
Let's kind of run through this real quick. Definitely an interesting season. We'll get to all that a little bit later on, but how excited are you moving forward to be hopping on with the MeatLovers?
You know, I've always thought I haven't been like enabled in comp. I feel like at one point I was, and I feel like with Tech side yelling, he's very smart. He puts more time into macro than 95%, 99% of players, believe it or not. And I'm just beyond pumped because I feel like I'm just going to be able to play my own game. I'm going to be able to, shoot when I want to shoot, heal when I have to heal. I'm not going to be microed, which is what I've always wanted. Believe it or not, a lot of people think the opposite, but, I'm excited. I just feel like I'm going to be like, full blown me. And I feel like I'm playing the best I ever have. So I'm excited.
There we go. Hashtag beat the meat. That's what we're on the next few seasons here. Hashtag beat the meat. No, seriously though, it is kind of interesting too, because you talk about Tech a little bit. He's kind of had a string of bad luck when it comes to, players leaving and being poached from him. But as far as his ability to take a team, a roster of people, and show the world how good they can really be with his IGLing has to be exciting for somebody like you who's been kind of, a little bit held back. And I think you have to definitely feel like this is going to be a great opportunity for you moving into this next phase.
I feel like I've been in the shadows almost, one time I was in the spotlight, and then it kind of moved to the shadows, right? That's how I feel. And now I feel like I'm finally about to show myself again in the spotlight because I'm going to be able to play my game. And at one point, like I said, I was playing my game and now I'm not, or at one point I wasn't really. And then it was getting in my head a lot. Now I'm back in my game. So, and it's only third day of scrimming with him. And I feel like I'm been doing really well. So.
Can you talk about the enabling aspect of like what it almost feels like you have been, I know you keep saying that, but like kind of free, and I think people know you most for the, I'm clipping shit. You're going off the rails. There's a little bit of chaos. And I think you thrive in that chaos, but I would love for you to talk about, because realistically Tech is enabling y'all via a crypto drone. So,
literally
can you talk about how just team comp only, like team composition only, legend comps, how the difference between you not playing Rampart anymore to you running now Bang on World's Edge at least, and how even such things as legends really play an asset to your unlocking, as people are saying, and you yourself are saying.
Okay, so comp wise, I'll start with specifically for me, and then I can get more like general comps. For me, Bloodhound meta, right? Blood Octane Gibby. That's when I first started making my name. That's when I popped off the most. Got second in champs in NA regional or NA finals championship, which was right when COVID really happened around then, and lands were canceled around that time. And basically won that tournament. That was the 100 Thieves one when they were on Congarna, or they were signed to Congarna at the time, I think, right? Something like that. That was that one. For those that don't know, listening. My team outplaced 100 Thieves or Congarna, whatever you want to call them, by like 30 points. So that was me on Bloodhound. I popped off 20-something kills in a $1 million tournament. And then, then here comes Valk meta, right? Then Valk, I'm playing Valkyrie, super unlocked in a good way, and felt like I was, playing my game too. I could fly up, pull my gun out, clip something, get out, drop down, clip something, get out, whatever it is. It's like more like evasive legends for me. That's like my, quote unquote unlocked or unleashed kind of characters specifically. And then I can play characters like Rampart, right? Like Finn had said, where, I could get second place in ALGS, which is pretty, impressive for me. I'm even like, not even like humbled by that. I feel like that's pretty crazy for me. Someone that goes from Bloodhound to Rampart. So, I mean, or even Valk to Rampart, right? And, Bangalore right now is my number one for sure. I play my best on Bang, way better than I play Horizon. I don't know what it is. I feel like shooting through smokes is like right now the most, it's the one thing that separates, one guy from another guy or another girl, whatever it is, right? That skill and ability to do more damage than the guy you're shooting through smoke, whether they're MK or controller. Because it's possible to, out-damage an MK player with controller with no aim assist, believe it or not. I've done it. Several other people have. So, and the team comp wise, the crypto is helping a lot. In the first 3 days I played with him, I haven't mastered it yet. It's a very cohesive comp. You have to play off the guy adjacent to you, and usually it's just Lux because Tex, and the drone is, as memey as it sounds, it actually works when you got two guys with crazy chemistry, just like running up, picking something, playing their life, getting out, doing damage, bait and switching, right? That kind of vibe. And, I feel like it only work with controller players or at least one controller, because you got to always be super consistent with it, with the damage, because it's really all it's about. So that's kind of the answer. I think that's what you're looking for, right? Sort of like the whole deal.
Dude,
dive pretty deep in it.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I get.
And so you just mentioned how it's often a lot of the times you and Luxford who are running it down together with the comp that you guys are running. Can you give us a little bit of the breakdown of your previous relationship with him and how that has allowed you guys to be as effective as you are, and just give us a little bit of a highlight on Luxford, because I'm sure many of our listeners don't know exactly who that is, and we all know that he's an incredibly talented player, but if you could gas the boy up and then give us a little breakdown on why you two work so effectively together.
So back in that Gibby Blood Octane meta, Lux was still on the map at the time. He was like third most damage in Pro League. I've had my eyes on that kid for a while now. It's just like, being one of the top players in the game. This is way back, like over a year ago. So he's been competing for a while, for those that don't know. Longer than most, than like Zainu even, Funk, all those guys, right? Than like the newer group, I guess, the newer wave. And, that guy shoots shit. He's insane. I've always thought, he's one of the best. He's very smart. He knows how to play his life super well. He can play any legend in the game, which shows that him and I would be a good duo. Because we think like how other people don't as controller players due to the experience we have. We're not just all gunny and just like doing damage, getting knocked, screaming damage. We're like more like, there's an art to it, I guess. More of an art to us two playing together. And believe it or not, I was going to team with him and Lou before Pro League, but that ended up falling through. And, we ended up picking up Alb. Not much of a different kind of pick. Can play any legend, shoots like a control player, right? So it was the same kind of vibe, And yeah, so Lux is definitely one of the best. He was top damage in Realm. I think he was number one most damage in Realm when that was that little league that just happened recently that got shut down or whatever. But he's just insane. I've always wanted to play with him, so it's a little highlight on my influx.
I love his comms, bro. His comms are insane.
Very clear comms. They're loud, energetic, and I feed off that. You guys know that too, so it's good. It's definitely a good match for me. It's not quiet, so the perfect match for me almost. So
no, I think it's a great duo to complement the play style that you all are running with Tech.
Same.
It's exciting.
So we've talked a little bit about like the structural pieces of moving forward with the MeatLovers and stuff like that, getting into this next chapter of your career in the Apex competitive scene. Talk about all the things you want to do, the composition, all that. I want to ask a little bit about your mentals moving forward, because obviously this was a tough season. Like, you guys were so close, and there was a lot of like things that we're going to go into later on that probably were tough to deal with at the time. But as far as just outside of the game, your mental state, how you're feeling, how you want to attack the next chapter, how have you been doing mentally so far with all this stuff going on?
I mean, my mental has been fantastic. I'm not gonna lie. I believe it's pretty soon to say that, but I do feel like I've been, it was almost like a blessing in disguise, Lou leaving, because, between you and me and the world, I'm not gonna lie, it's not a secret anymore. I've said it on stream. I was gonna leave them regardless. Not them. Mac, I kind of wanted to stay with, but Lou and I just been matched together. Still love the guy outside of, of the game, obviously, but in game we just didn't match super well. I feel like he made the right decision though, going to controller. Whether he went to IGL or not, that's his decision. He'll do well either direction he takes. I love Lou, he's a good dude, but even if we made LAN, I would have left after LAN. Because one thing I told myself when I started competing is that I play fucking video games. I'm not going to be unhappy doing this shit. I'm not going to be thinking about tiny little mistakes every night that I made that I'm getting DMs from my buddies about. Like, no, it's not it. It's almost like it's like a devil's advocate thing, but maybe it was just like, the angel's advocate or whatever. That was the right side of things. People telling me that I didn't mess up there or whatever it is, right? So it was like I was like getting pulled left and right almost from like reality and then what was going on. So that's kind of the detailed reasoning, behind why my mental's good. Because, looking back at it, I definitely don't regret it. I learned a lot from Lou and Alb, of course, teaming with him as long as I have. So I just think it was nothing but a positive thing, positive end for all of us. If me and Mac stayed together, we would not have gotten signed. I believe Mac probably will be getting signed by Wildcard. That's not back secret info. That's just obvious. It's just he's only one playing with them. They're not trying anyone else. So yeah, I feel like Max took a right direction. He's getting paid for being one of the best, which is the goal, right? When you're the best, you want to be paid, while you're gaming and sitting on your ass, doing this shit, which is a blessing. So, that's my goal now. So we're looking for a team, hopefully to make a LAN too. So that's it.
Yeah, and I think so. Before we get too deep into all the issues and stuff, I did kind of want to go into when we first had you on the show. You hadn't been signed yet. There was no team in the works yet. You had kind of just left with Cloud9, and you were trying to figure out what exactly you were going to do. So I want to get into how you got into this process with the LANimals, how it all came together, and what your guys' plan was moving into Pro League and stuff like that.
With LANimals, right? Okay. Plan was get Max habit of taking over, totally just disperse that, lose it, evaporate it, destroy it, whatever. And that ended up going away after I think the second or third match day. Mac made the most progress out of any player in Pro League this split, period. No questions. He focused the most on, his subconscious, which was the takeover part of his whole deal. And, that was something we worked on at the start. And you can't really work on the thing that stinks about Apex is that there's only 6 match days. There's 36 matches, and LGS, it's almost like it's practice, but it's not, right? Because there's always another one, at least for now. We're only, I'd say, not even halfway through the life of the game yet, as long as EA, whatever, doesn't get worse than how they are acting with this whole deal. But whatever. And I feel like on game day, it's the only way to really get better. If that makes sense. You can get better mechanically and all this stuff, but macro-wise, you can only prepare so much for what actually happens with how teams hide strategies and scrims and all that stuff. So, Lou IGLing, he's insane at IGLing. I always told him, trust his gut. He's the best. Always gas him up in LGS, scrims, whatever the hell it is. And I feel like that helped him a lot as a player. And yeah, that's kind of like the deal with our mentals going into pro league. We had no clue if we were going to work, but we also did at the same time. And we proved, I think, the whole world wrong being as close as we even were to qualifying, which is what a lot of people tell me. So
100%. 100%.
it was literally just down to three placements, in the regional finals. It was us, Wildcard, Complexity, and then one other team. Forgot what it was. But it was so close. We were literally within like 8th and 12th place in the regional finals. So close.
Yeah, it was, I mean, early on, so obviously I'm the number one LANimals fan of all time. I don't think there's any debate about that. I was the best. But there was a lot of like people going against like, why would you follow this team? I just believed in it. I thought that this team could do well. You guys definitely outperformed a lot of the hate around, and you guys did a very good job. And like you said, it was so close. You guys, there was like just a few games away from being, in this, and maybe, like you said, you're still going to leave nonetheless, but we might be interviewing you in a completely different spot. Just a few different games go a little bit differently, but it wasn't all bad. There was some good times, and I kind of wanted to bring it back to one of the good times, which was one of the funniest moments of all time, which Finn mentioned earlier, was the I'm clipping shit moment. I just want, like, was that one of those moments where you were just like you felt like you were out of body and just shooting every single thing that moved? Because it seemed like you could not miss in that Storm Point match. It was insane.
I actually have a term for that. It's called flow state. So there's some players that'll reach flow state. It's almost like it sounds like some like trippy thing, like that some dude off shrooms would like start talking about or whatever, But like, it's a thing that it's like a term, and a lot of like my boys have used it before, I even started saying it, right? It's just like a thing that I've always like heard about, whatever. Just like flow states when you're just maximum you. It's like nothing can shadow you no matter who it is, whether they're in flow state or not, or whether they're cheating or not. It doesn't matter. It's like there's a certain level of like mental confidence that you reach where it's just like something clicks in your thumbs or your brain, whatever the hell it is, and you just know exactly what to do in the moment. Everything just calms down and like freezes in front of you. And that's kind of what I felt like there, because I've never hit a one Mac like that in my life. And I wasn't even on linear yet at the time. So I don't know. I was 4-4 classic before I switched about a month ago. And people say that you're not supposed to be shooting like that on 4-4 classic, but I've never even done it. And I was just, I hit snipe down at the little Valk for like 280 or 290 or something, because he swapped an armor through a spray. Then I one clipped the seer, and then I hit another guy for 100, and it was just like reset right then and there. And then we ended up getting second in that game, I think, or third.
I think it was actually third.
Third,
it was, I think.
and Optic were in that game.
Yeah, that was before I think you went to Rampart, and it was Alb, and he came out with the Sheila, and there was a moment where I thought you guys were going to pull it off, and something, I don't know what happened, but
Nades. It was nades.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, no, it was one of those moments, but it wasn't the only one. There was many times throughout this entire pro league where it seemed like when you didn't have the influence of the other two and you just had to make a play, you made a play. And I don't even know how to necessarily approach this question, but it just seems like whenever it comes down to you and somebody else, you are going to come out on top. Do you think there's anything that you've done in your past, or just anything that contributes to your ability to just take a situation where the odds are against you and you just seem to come out on the other side unscathed?
Not gonna lie, I think that's just like I think I would need like a legit analyst to analyze my gameplay from day one of me competing, which was Wraith, Pathfinder, Watson meta. I actually swapped a PC when Finn did around then, which was, oh my god, I think, when was that, Finn? Season 2?
Yeah, it was something like
crazy.
season. It was whenever they announced ALGS.
Yeah,
which was in like a January of 2020, I think.
Some crazy, yeah, like years ago, almost 4 years ago.
I think that was season 2, 2 or 3. That's all.
2 or 3. Because I have a bronze badge for season 2 and then only stats for season 3, so it doesn't make sense. I guess I had my account online or something for whatever. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like my experience. I think that all comes down to experience. And me playing as many legends as I have, because I started as Wraith, then I went to Watson, then I went to I don't even know. I don't even remember any of the characters I played back then. But I think it had to do something with the way I built my confidence when there weren't a lot of other control players at the time. Because as the months progress, there seemed to be more, getting better and better, right? Because they're switching to linear or whatever it is, mastering it quickly because it's an easy sense to understand. The positioning that I learned from playing all these different characters taught me how to like assess something fast and do it, knowing when to just send someone, knowing when I have to take a 1v1, knowing when I have to, think of this angle or something, whatever it is, it's like, cause there's a lot of thinking around it. There's a lot of like math and timing and crazy shit that'll go on in my brain. And I feel like that's all just from experience, I guess. I think it's just an experience thing. I couldn't even like get it down to the T, but I just know what to do and what shots I have to hit, whether headshots or not, to do something.
It is hard to describe that to maybe somebody that is newer, is how much time in hours you have put into this game to where it is no longer you have to think about it. It's more so you're reactionary.
Instincts.
Right? Yeah, because at the pro level, if you're having to think about things, it's already too late. You already didn't capitalize off of what you're supposed to do.
Agreed.
So you like, because of how many hours you have, it's so instinctual. It's not even a thought anymore. And so I think that is also in the quote unquote flow state that you were mentioning. I think is when you're locked in, bro, like you're mentally just locked in for the pro, like the days. There's nothing like it, right? There's nothing whenever you're in that groove. And dude, the momentum after you guys like squad wipe a team going into zone or something, like there's nothing like being in that flow state of adrenaline too, pumping and everything, of the confidence, everything. And
it's like there's a meter that gets filled up with like damage in the top right of your screen with the kill count. It's like, it's almost like once you get a certain amount, it's just wraps. It's like you're going to do your part damn well, and if your teammate got carried in the fight, they got to find their, meter or their progress on the bar too, That's how I kind of think about it.
I was thinking, for example, this recently happened in the scrims tonight. You 1v3 that squad. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, you didn't miss a bullet. And you had to have been like, I'm on fire right now. Like no one can touch me. I'm the most confident person in this game right now.
Yep. And that's why I made the mistake too in the same game. Cause sometimes it's like, it's almost like I become a different player when I'm in flow state, where I just like, if my teammates are on the same, just like push page after there's a knock, it's just like fights are ending quicker. Because the goal is to end a fight right away. Every time. Sometimes you can't, based off of abilities, and especially the abilities now in this game. It's all stall abilities right now. So yeah, 100%.
E, did you have something?
Yeah. So you are non-debatedly will be known as like one of the top grinders when it comes to grinding and putting in the time and putting in the effort to get good. And so with that being your background experience, how many hours of Apex a day are you playing to be at your peak?
Believe it or not.
Well, like, what's your best amount for you to be playing at your peak?
Like, what's my prime amount for my peak as a player?
Yeah, for you to be playing for you to be able to show up and play your best, how many hours a day is that? Because I'm sure there has to be a drop off at some point of like, nobody is the best player playing 18 hours a day every single day, right? Like, there's just no way.
If you're gassed, you're screwed. That's all. I actually experienced that myself. At the end of playing with Zach and Mac, I was absolutely playing my heart out. Just kind of like I have been the last month or whatever. And I didn't play that well. But the thing is that when you play your heart out, meaning like you play your ass off, you just play so much, you get to a point where like you can't get better because you're so tired or whatever it is, and you're pushing through it. And I only did that for my stream because like it is sad to say you kind of have to do that. Not have to, but if you're not at LAN, performing crazy well on LAN, you won't go from that 1,000 to like 10,000 mark like his Watson did, right? Or like Hal did, or certain players did. But my prime amount, I'd say, is when I'm playing my best individually, which is all that really matters, for an individual, not including stream, because the stream's a whole nother conversation, is I'd say I need to play 8 hours a day. Not going to lie. 8 hours is a lot, but I only feel like I have to do that because I've conditioned myself individually. Not saying you guys should, because that's a lot, but like, not you, you know what I mean? Just like podcasts, people listening. If you want to be the best, I wouldn't have to do that much, but I've conditioned myself really well to where, because it's all a mental thing, right? Being tired, like that's what like Navy SEAL training, they make you go through the craziest shit, just to like have a different concept of tired, because it's all a concept. There is physical tiredness, but like you can push through almost anything when you get to a certain point. And it's the same kind of deal with this mental shit. It's all mental. And I'm not comparing Navy SEALs to gaming. A totally different story. But this stuff is mentally challenging, I promise. Physically, not at all. But you can hurt yourself, physically, doing this, believe it or not. You could get a blood clot sitting down for so long if you don't work out or not even work out, but, stretch, whatever it is. But I'd say 8 hours a day for me, because I'm not fortunate enough to be like Slurp, where I don't have to play for 3 months and then just hop on and 3-tap someone. I can't do that shit. That's just Slurp. I can't do that. I got to play consistently, but I can't play too much. That's my answer for that.
Good one.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I want to be sure like people understand it's a question for me, not for them. I don't want to convince people to like overwork. Yeah. But it's good to overwork.
Different. Everybody's different. I think.
Yeah, 100%. Agreed.
But yeah, like you said, you've kind of conditioned yourself in that regard. Okay,
I got another one real quick.
Yeah, okay. No, you go, E. Go.
All right, so regarding your experience with LANimals, what would you say is the number one thing that you learned about yourself from that experience?
That I'm not as aware as I need to be. Easy answer. My awareness is not good, but I got it very good this Pro League split. Playing Rampart in LGS is not easy. There's so much to think about, and I put so much fucking time in before that LGS where I had to play it. And it seems easy, but I promise you, for those that think it's easy and not as like, it's easy, whatever. It's not, I promise. Being with the best players in the world, I firmly believe the NA region is the most strong region, or the strongest region, and playing against the hardest lobby in the world, in my opinion, which is regional finals usually, is, very hard on something you're not comfortable with and have no confidence behind. I didn't have confidence behind Rampart. I didn't know how I was going to play on game day. I just did what I learned and what I practiced, and it worked because we got second place that day and I had like 10 kills, which is good, So
finals, LAN or NA regionals, which lobby's better?
Winners bracket was the hardest on LAN for me. 100%. I think winners bracket in Sweden and winners bracket in Raleigh, those are the two I played in, were the hardest lobbies I've ever played in. 100% in my life. Not because of nerves either, because it's the winners bracket, Sorry, Wyatt?
Mm-hmm.
No, I was just going to say, like, what was it? What is something that, like, people don't understand, like the listeners might not understand about how different those lobbies play out? Because obviously it's like, yes, they're the best players in the world, but what is one aspect of it that you just don't expect if you're not in it all the time? Is it timing? Is it, like just straight up gun skill? Like, what exactly changes in those lobbies and what made them the hardest lobbies you've ever played in? Because
that's when it comes down to the wire. And all 60 players know that in the back of their mind. There's not a loser's bracket to fall into, There's not another Pro League split, It's like genuinely, it almost feels like a last opportunity in those kind of lobbies for people. So like they're playing like their lives depend on it, because it's a make or break for your career when you do well versus not doing well. Because if you don't do well, you're looked at as not good, even if you made that lobby to people. That's just how the public views. Like, how like we'll casually say a NFL team isn't that good, when damn well we know that if we're in a position right now in the NFL, we get rolled, just like that's kind of how like people talk naturally. So it really is like a make or break. I feel like, I think that's why people just show up to play, and it makes it the hardest, because you got to be outperforming people that have their lives on the line, basically, because they've sacrificed their life for this, really. If they're in a lobby like that, pretty sure there's not many people that have full-time jobs and, make LAN. There are probably a few out there, but not many. Not in NA. Maybe Tech might be the only one right now. Maybe there's a couple that are low key about it, but that's it.
Okay, I think Phony might be one of those.
Phony.
I don't know if he's
Agreed.
still working.
I don't think anymore. I think
he was working for so long to make it, which is impressive.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah, insane
Crazy.
amount of work.
I wanted to go back to the LANimals real quick, because once again, I have a lot of LANimals questions. I apologize. It's just
fine,
I watched the whole split. So
Wyatt is so invested. So
I basically no, I've watched sports intensely my whole life. I overanalyze my favorite teams. I overanalyze everything, and being able to watch every game and having that ability to like analyze it was so interesting for me. So one of the things I also picked up on was it seemed like a lot of times there was arguments after bad games and like infighting after bad games, but it always seemed like you were the one who was trying to negate it. You were the one who was trying to say, you know what, that game's over. Like, let's just go next. And there was always like an issue where it couldn't get like nobody can move on. And I want to ask you from your perspective how frustrating that is when you're just trying to say, guys, we still have like 4 more games in front of us. If we can just get down, focus up, get back into the saddle, like how like was that tough, or what, you know, kind of go through your thought process on that entire thing.
So, you know, I dealt with it too with Zach and Al because they would butt heads too, you know, back then. And I'm not going to lie. I know with Al specifically, just because Al was on the team, it's important that I never lost that trait ever. I could not lose that trait because Al is the type to get in his head after whiffing 12 damage with the R9, whatever the hell it is. If he misses one bullet, he's the type to get in his head. But there's a way to bounce him back because I did it on LAN. You know, when you lose your IGL in Sweden, for those that don't know, we lost Zach to COVID, not fully. You know what I mean? Like he couldn't play, and you know it was very scary. Mac was the most. You don't understand. He thought he had COVID. He was manifesting it almost because he was so scared because he was around him. It was crazy. And I'm the type of guy to like, I don't give a shit about myself. I got a full focus on like morale and team morale, whether I'm not happy in the moment or not, you know? And those that don't know, I obviously wasn't happy because I got to a point where I was talking about if it happens one more time, I'm leaving the team, you know, and some YouTuber clipped it and put it on YouTube, whatever. But like, you know, that was more of an emotional thing I said, but I wasn't going to leave after one more time. But like I was planning on, if like we didn't do well at LAN or whatever, to possibly, you know, leave after just because I'm not happy. And that would have been my reasoning. And Mac would have probably still stood by me because Lou would have probably wanted to leave regardless, you know. It would have worked out. But, you know, that's pretty much it for that. I just feel like it's important to be happy with this kind of deal. And if my teammates aren't, I'm not. So I have to put in the work for team morale. I can.
Yeah, and it also seemed like from an outsider's perspective, and once again, I don't want to be speaking for you. This is just something I picked up on. It seemed like a lot of times you already talked about like the devil on the shoulder, angel on the shoulder type situation where somebody was telling you did something wrong, and other people were saying like you were okay. It seemed like a lot of times there would be a call out from Lou being like, you did this wrong, and you'd kind of like want to say something, you like start, and then you'd be like, okay. And you'd kind of like try to find a way to be like, maybe I could see it from his perspective. I could see from a competitor standpoint how frustrating that would be, kind of having to try to do that every single time. A phrase that I heard a lot of times from Lou was, you guys got to fucking listen to me. It's got to be frustrating where it's like, I feel like I'm correct, but I don't want to challenge like the authority of somebody who's trying to tell me and trying to make us better. But there was probably a lot of times where you were sitting there being like, dude, I know for a fact like what I was thinking and what I was feeling was correct. Moving into this next chapter, have you experienced any of that with tech? And if not, how much more freeing does that feel to where you feel like you can kind of say what you're feeling and not feel like you have to kind of like compress it? I don't even know if that's exactly what you were doing. It just felt like that when I was watching from the outside.
I think that all has to do with respect for your teammates. So if you respect your teammates and if you trust them, you'll listen to them. You'll at least listen. You won't cut them off and say, no, 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 right? That's what Lou was doing. So I feel like he lost respect. You know, I'm saying this out of respect for Lou, but this is my feeling and emotion behind it. I feel like he just lost respect for me on a mental thinking on my own level, right? Because of that stigma that I need to be microed all the time. And I think he didn't trust me anymore. And I think that's why I happen to be the one to get singled out mostly. And Lou knows Mac doesn't handle that kind of stuff well. You know, maybe he handles it well now. Mac, I'm talking about, with madness in them. But, you know, that's something that like Mac would have to focus on, you know, which is like, you know, being singled out for your mistakes. At least, let's say you happen to make 3 in the same tournament. I'm not saying Mac specifically has done it, but like just a random example. Then Mac with Zach, like back in the day with Zach, he used to not be able to really bounce back well from that kind of deal. That's why with Mac, I know that you just have to mention it once, rub it off, give him a hug kind of deal. You're good. We're lock in, you know, move on. And with Lou, with me, I couldn't even, you know, lock back in really. I made the stupidest mistake in the last game of an oversight where I dropped on 2 people in a 1v2 when I was 60 HP. And I thought it was 100% my fault. And then I came back from the mic after deafening for 10 minutes. And then Dupe was like, nah, that wasn't you. It's okay, whatever. I think he was only doing that just for my own mental, to be fair. You know, because Dupe watches out for his boys too. And, you know, he, whatever, you know what I mean? And I don't know. I genuinely just feel like it just wasn't there between him and I, you know, after X amount of months passed, you know, just that trust. at the beginning, it was there. That's why I did the 1v3s for them, because like I knew that I trusted them to make a game after I did this, after I exerted this much energy and like, sweatiness into killing all FAs, doing 130 plus damage, all 3 of them. So I don't know. That was my thought process on that.
Is it more frustrating when you know you made a mistake and somebody's more trying to cover for you than actually like if they were to just call you out and say like, hey, this was a mistake and you need to like be better this time? Like, is that like a little frustrating?
Repeat that one more time. I got a little confused.
No, so you were saying that Duplex was saying like when you came back, he was saying like, oh, it wasn't a big deal, even though maybe you probably made the mistake. Is it more frustrating when somebody like tries to cover for your mental rather than just being like, hey, this was probably something you shouldn't have done?
Keep in mind, I don't know if Dupe was doing that. That's just me assuming that. I'm kind of picking that up from the situation. But it's almost frustrating that he sort of almost has to do that for me to like bounce back the next day. Because if I get off on that note, it's like bad. So like it's smart of him to even do that if he was intending to do that. Or maybe he saw something different in the situation where I was just reacting off of the damage calls because Mac was saying 2 of them were one shot and I dropped down and I think they got a sell off, but they both team shotted because they both weren't healing, because they had their guns, 2 guns versus 1, the person can only do 30 damage or something, if they're both pre-aiming the guy falling, whatever it is. So yeah, that was the situation. And I feel like it is frustrating, but just due to the fact that he had to even do it, if it was the case.
You guys got
yeah,
anyone?
I got one. It's kind of along the lines, and it's one of, so I actually, man, I thought it was super mature of you. This was, probably early on into the LANimals team. Like you guys were all probably all on a pretty good page. You guys had the trust and all that sort of stuff, but I think it was early on in something about like an ultimate usage, and you said something that I think is super mature, but also is just I don't know, just like an overall really good mindset. Is you said, I'm okay with talking about like, okay, bad usage, but at least I used it, than me dying and then not using my ultimate. And I think that goes with tacticals, that goes with all kinds of stuff. But I really, really love that perspective, because I think as a former competitor, I think it is so easy to weigh on the what ifs. But if you have an outline, if you have a kind of a subset, a rule set that, okay, we're not going to talk about the what ifs as long as we have used our abilities or we did the most in our situation, given the situation. I think it was just, when I heard that, I was like, man, if only all of my teammates that I've ever competed with had that same mindset, instead of weighing on the what ifs of, we should have done this if we did this. But I don't know how to explain that. I know that sounds so nitpicky, but I would love for you to, I'm just more so giving you a compliment to say like, that is such a mature mindset in the competitive scene. Whereas I think if you're very immature in the competitive, or you're not very experienced, you can't weigh on, like, that people are much more easy to weigh on the what ifs. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I just think this game's all about capitalizing, whether it's off a 100 spray or off a Bangalore or off a smoke, because every piece of utility in Apex, whether it's bullets or a bang smoke or a horizon Q, is something you have to play off of, but it can get equalized by, the same ability, right, on the other team. And when there's a meta, there's a lot of equalization in fights and stalling. That's why I said earlier, it's like a stall meta right now. So like, it's very important to not just like play off of what you see, but what you think too, like thinking about who used what first, all this stuff, right? And posturing to capitalize off of ability timings and shit like that. So, and you get that from experience, and that's not something that like I can just say and someone can hear and pick up right away. It's not, because like when you think about things, sometimes your aim will be off, and then you have to work on you have to play more maybe to get your muscle memory better to just shoot straighter while you can think more, There's like a balance to every player, and everyone's different. So yeah, well, thank you for the compliment, Finn.
You bet, bro. And also on top of that, not just thinking it and then shooting your gun, but then also calming it. Like
Yep,
all
and
those
calming.
things
Oh my
all
God,
in
yeah.
one. It's just like a very tough
And
skill
listening.
to do.
And listening too. You know, you're being
And
talked to a
listening.
lot.
Yeah. Yep.
It's hard. This game is so hard. It's very hard. That's why people love it. You know, it looks hard, and it is. So,
The skill ceiling is very high.
yep, very.
You got one, E?
So how long did it take you to get a background that looked that clean?
Ooh.
What's the setup?
I mean, I just fixed my awareness about a month ago, and that's after 3 years competing. You know, but at the end of the day, everyone's got their weaknesses, everyone's got their strengths, and the only way to fix your weaknesses are by focusing on them. You know, so pointing them out and focusing on them one at a time gets you better. But that involves a lot of playtime and never quitting and always finding a new team if you get dropped or having the morale to even look for a team. It's a lot to this fucking game. It's hard. And I've gone through the bottom. I started from the bottom. Really, I was with. I'm not going to say who I was with, but I was with some goobers at the start who are one of the best now. And it was hard because like when you're not guided, you just got to play off your own instincts and learn off your own shit and watch people. So I thought it took a while for me.
I mean, that was beautiful. I was talking about
The background, like your background in like the camera right now. I think
on your camera. I was
Hold
trying.
on, that was.
Yeah.
Let's just
But that
say
was
that
still
was a
beautiful, though.
I thought you were talking about my background.
beautiful
It was a beautiful
answer.
answer.
You get me?
I was just mean like your streaming background is immaculate.
Oh, bro, I'm crying.
Despite the
I'm
chords?
actually
Yeah,
crying
we were
right now.
talking about that before. Like when I think you were in here and then you were out, and then we were like, "Yeah, dude, he's got a new background. It looks clean." He was like, "Yeah, we're gonna ask him about it."
That seemed like a playoff
about
question.
it, and then I was like, "Oh, let me ask him about it." And then I was like, "What did he
Jeez.
think I just asked him?" And
Did you get me
I
now?
was like, "I was along for the ride. That was awesome."
That
Yeah,
was still sick. When
that
he
sounded
said,
like it played off of the recent question too. Almost.
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It was a beautiful answer. When you said it was your awareness, I thought you just meant like your decor awareness. Like you were just getting way better
You're
at
like,
just
I
home
became
decor.
way
I was
more
like, that's
self-aware of
awesome.
wanting
too.
to
Dude,
have
I know,
survive
I was
myself
laughing
in
at
a better
that.
environment.
I was like,
And
awesome,
then it
dude.
just
Let's
took
go.
a turn.
Speaking of goobers, I guess I'm the goober. You know, I guess
That's
that's why I'm
actually-
known for it.
No, that was actually a great way to transition because I feel like the tone, because of the way the LANimals situation ended, was kind of just grim this whole time. But that was a great way to turn it around because I wanted to turn this around. I don't want this to be doom and gloom because it's like LANimals and stuff. Let's get into the positive stuff here.
Yeah, that's a good little transition.
The background is great. It looks amazing. Last time last time you were here, the background wasn't this good. I mean, you look great. For the people not watching on YouTube right now, you got to go tune in, check out the YouTube just for the background alone. But also getting into the MeatLovers, I'm not going to lie to you. We have to throw this out there. Is there a possibility for a name change? Because we have accidentally called you guys the Meat Riders probably like 6 times on this podcast. Let me just throw this out there. Maybe
This was pre-naughty though. This was pre-naughty.
This was pre-naughty. So that's why I'm saying if he's new to the team, maybe we pitch like a name change. Could that be a possibility?
I'm down for some pitches. Yeah, we can hit some pitches here. I'll pitch him to Tech.
Okay. I didn't have any ready. I was just seeing if you had any
think?
that was. I don't know. I think
What about
You got to help me though. I don't got any. So we're on the same boat.
yes.
Around
Naughty
me,
Dog?
name. I don't think Lux would go with that.
No? Okay. All right.
Lux would not. You know Lux. He'd be like, oh hell no. Maybe the Luxfords or something.
That's even good. Like that's
Yeah.
it's a solid name. I'm just saying, just for the hashtag is great. You want to beat the meat, but I think also like you don't also want to accidentally be called the Meat Riders. Like
I
on a
got
major
you.
broadcast.
I got you. Luxfords, naughty technicians.
There we look at. We can.
That's a mouthful. Huh? It's not bad though. What if we make it an acronym? And people are like, hey, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I'm down.
That's
I'm
not
down.
a bad one.
Yeah,
There
I
we
just,
go.
That's thoughtful. With the,
I'm
We
afraid
gotta-
I'm gonna keep saying Meat Riders, and I'm like, oh no, I keep saying this, but I'm not meaning to.
Maybe we just
Shut
pitch the
up.
Meat Riders. Maybe we just change it to that.
Maybe,
I don't
yeah,
know
just
if
full commit to it.
ALGS would allow it, but who
No,
knows?
I doubt it.
think so.
I'm sure
surprised
Meat
that they
barely
let
got by.
MeatLovers in. I'm like,
It's the pizza,
were-
probably.
we were gonna do
definitely-
anal with like AN and L. I don't know if you guys saw any of that. It's like Alb, Naughty, and Lou, like the and sign. But that was not. It was a smart one. It was a good one. People were still
like that.
calling us that team, in the freaking Apex chat. and stuff.
I like it.
So
Well, I liked it, if that means anything. And I will
so-
say, I will. Here's what I'll do. I'll start coming up with some names. Maybe I'll tweet them at you, throw some your way for the rest of
Okay.
the team, because I'm going to be following you this next season. I'm not following anybody else. I'm sticking with Naughty. I'm going through
Hell
this
yeah.
next few games. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be tweeting the whole time, live tweeting in your corner. So I want you to know that ahead of time. I'll throw some names your way. See, you can pitch them. See, maybe if they're down for a name change. Did Tech come up with the name? Is he the one who came up with it?
Tech may have been the one to approve it. I think Zyno and Funk, those meatheads, probably came up
That
with
makes
it.
sense. That does make sense.
If I had to guess.
Okay.
Maybe.
All right. So,
I don't know.
so
Just
next
so you
few
know,
weeks,
he
I'll
is
throw
serious.
some.
He does live tweet your games.
I live tweet them. I created a
he-
hashtag.
I always see
If
why
you
it's
ever-
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hashtag L2L,
No, I do.
animals to learn.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to be there, but I will tweet some names at you. I just, what I need you to do for now is to just throw that text way and just be like, hey, maybe name change ? See what he says.
Mhm.
Relay that information to me, and then I can immediately start digging deep, finding some names for us.
Do you guys, I doubt you know this, but could you name change and can you name change a pro league spot if the season's not over? I doubt y'all know that.
Probably.
I don't think it's
yeah,
been done.
Well, think about it. If
Only
you
for
think about
orgs.
it, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's only for
Yeah.
orgs, but when that's technically a name change. So wouldn't they
Yeah,
do it?
it's a logo and name change. So maybe.
We could do
But-
an unofficial,
might.
official name change.
We
Yeah,
can
'cause-
make our own org, whatever you want to name it. We can make our own org,
I
and
guess,
then
yeah.
y'all get
Start a
signed to it.
Twitter. A little
Yep.
0-0.
Yeah,
Like a
we'll
fake
do
Twitter.
it.
Send
I guess
it-
you could do that if you think about it. That makes sense. Because, like,
Yeah.
you know, an org does, they're not going to do background research on the org and make sure they're legit. They're going to be like, all right, sure, there's your org.
Like
you know,
you
if
can
it's a brand
even
new org
whip
or
up an
something.
LLC if you really wanted to take it the extra mile.
Look,
Yeah,
we're
true.
willing to do what it takes. If that's
Whatever
what it
you
mean- whatever you need, we're doing.
Whatever
We'll
you
do
need.
it.
I got the Apex Podcast boys backing it up.
Yeah.
I'll pitch it to Tech.
No, we
I'm
do-
sure that's
we
allowed.
have your
if you think about
biggest
it.
fan on the team for
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
every week.
Hell
There
yeah.
was a LANimals segment every single week where I would just talk just strictly your guys' strats, how the games went. Like every single. Oh, that's one last thing. Who made your guys' logo? Because I always loved your guys' logo.
Okay, the logo was actually not stolen. It was recreated, but it's like, I don't know if you've seen the meme. It's like a hog rider meme. It's like, it's the Apple logo, but the hog face. It's like,
Okay.
it's a hog, the picture.
Yeah.
It's an image of a hog, yeah. So I don't know. It's sort of like a meme. Like I've seen it on Instagram back then and like meme accounts and stuff. So it's like a pretty pronounced meme, and it's just kind of funny. Just, you know, lose a goofball. He's like one of those like, you know, memers and shit. So he was the
So
one that pitched
not-
the logo.
Not stolen.
Not stolen.
Recreated. Important distinction.
It was drawn.
That
Colgin actually drew it
allegedly-
when he was our
Okay.
analyst.
There
Yep.
we go. Perfect. I just wanted to know. There we go.
Yep.
Okay, Finn, do you want to do the double tap?
Yep, I got double tap and I'm ready for it. So essentially, how this works is I will say a statement and then you give me a 1-word or 2-word answer based off that statement.
Got it.
Does that make sense? All right.
Yeah.
Number 1, climatizer.
Dog shit.
Number 2, bloodhound.
Correct.
Number 3, Naughty's biggest asset to a team.
Friends.
Number 4, Wingman R99 combo.
Old Naughty.
Number 5, aim assist nerf.
All for it. Or all four.
Dang, really? Wait, hold on. Can we get into that real quick?
Dude,
Are
I
you-
could one clip kids through bank smoke.
That's
you know,
what I was saying.
I'm- I'd happily be doing that.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good. You're good. That was it.
I was gonna ask you at what point point percentage would you stop playing roller and switch to MK?
0.3.
So- So we're at 0.4 right now.
I think
Is it
you're
like-
still clipping shit 2.5.
2.5. Clip and shit. I feel like you have to, I mean, like, it's so hard because when someone cuts direction, you almost have to predict it at that point, right?
Well,
So
I
it's
mean,
like-
that's what I mean.
Well,
Maybe
they have
exactly. That's my
rotational
point.
aim
That's my
assist.
point.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
It's rotational aim assist, but I still think the top players wouldn't have an issue with an aim assist change. Like I think that just comes down to practice. And I think if people, it's like a brand new game. It would be if they changed aim assist percentage. It's just me spitballing here. And I
Yeah.
was just thinking, like, man, I think you would be a prime example of you'd be fine if they switch it to 0.4 to 0.3. Like I think you would be good.
It'd be hard, but I mean, you got to relearn the game at that point.
Exactly.
Recoil is different. Fucking everything. The whole game's different. You know, you got to just grind. So
Yeah, but
that would be a grind aspect for sure. That's when
Right.
the grind would matter more. You know,
How long, if you did make the switch to M&K, how long do you think it would take for you to become an elite mechanical player?
Enoch, I'm terrible on
I know,
MK.
but we're talking your work ethic. We're talking your mental.
8 hours
we're
a
talking
day.
that commitment.
See, like
to,
I'd also
8 to 12 hours a day of naughty M&K.
I have a question for you guys
Mm-hmm.
before I answer this. Do you think M&K players that play Apex now need a grounding M&K game such as H1 or not Valorant really, but let's say newer M&K players, for example, Valorant,
No.
CS:GO, need that kind of aiming practice or / experience to be good at Apex
No,
in general? Or do you think it's just you can hop on, switch M&K, just grind, get good?
I think if you swap, I think if you've gotten to the level that you've gotten to on controller, that you can, that even if you didn't have previous M&K experience, that you could hop on and you can make the switch, and within like 6 months to a year, could be pretty
Yeah.
like top 0.01%. Because I'm actually, that's something that I'm thinking of, like in like a month or two, I'm legitimately thinking about making the swap to M&K,
Really?
just because
Big deal.
everybody's making the switch to roller, and I don't play comp. I ain't playing comp, and so might as well.
Yeah.
And then just in terms of just everything, it would be like a challenge and something that people wouldn't expect, and more so just the challenge of being able to like document an entire process of being bad at something to then becoming one of the best in the world. And I think it could be interesting.
What's funny that you say is Jen Burton is insane on MK on Apex.
Dude, he's nuts.
Zainu's actually decent. Funk is all right. He's not that good. And then Oxy's fucking nuts on MK. People don't know that shit. Insane. Oxy's a grinder. That kid deserves some respect too. He's really good in the range, and MK, he actually grinds MK a lot too. I don't know why, but he's it's just an example that control players can do it with their playstyle. Because like if I switch MK, I'm aping shit. I don't care,
Mhm.
So, and then Finn and Wyatt, do you guys have anything to say?
Well, yeah. Well,
No, yeah, go ahead, Finn.
Wyatt, you go first, and then I'll top it off.
I was just gonna say, a fan a couple weeks ago asked who would win, which Apex Pro would win in a hot dog eating contest. And I picked you just because you said on the first interview that you would find a way to size up the competition, and you'd find a way to come around and win said competition. If we're switching from controller to M&K, and you have the mindset that you already have, you're playing already 8 to 12 hours a day, I actually wouldn't be worried about the aiming part of it. I'd be more worried about the movement part of it, because I feel like that's the part that's hardest to get. Or I might be wrong in that, but I feel like once you get down the movement aspect and finding the right bindings for you, the ones that work the best for you, if you're playing that much and you already have the game sense that you have, you already have the pro experience that you have, it's really hard for me to think that within like 6 months that you wouldn't be pretty damn close to the same spot that you are right now.
Yeah.
I
guess with the confidence I already have from being a control player.
And the time, like you have the time to put in, you have the, like,
Yeah.
I think the game sense is such a huge thing too. Like I really do
That's a
think
good point.
that, and
you took
you've
my
said
answer.
previously earlier, you were like, the one thing I wish I wouldn't have let people do was think that they had to micro you. If you feel like you have that ability to not need to be microed and you swapped over to M&K with your previous experience, 5-6 months, I think so.
I'd say so, yeah. I feel like it'd be a journey though. It'd be like, oh my god, if I was on controller or whatever, But it definitely would be. It'd be a journey because I have something to fall back on, It's not like I have something to fall back on with roller.
Which
Yeah.
I don't think they'd ever do it, by the way. I don't think
Yeah,
they'd really
I don't-
move it. But if they were to, I don't like I said, I think it would, with all of your experience and up to that point, I think it would reignite a fire. Like I think a lot of passion has kind of died in this game for a while now because of how much has changed and not changed in other ways. And I think switching to an input to prove to the world how good you truly are would ignite a fire in someone like you that would be untamable. It would be extremely fun to watch from somebody who's followed you up to this point. So yeah, 5-6 months, maybe
Yeah.
that. Finn,
I
what
agree,
were you
yeah.
gonna say?
I
No,
could definitely
dude,
agree with that.
I think you nailed it. My biggest thing was a lot of this game. 70% of this game is game knowledge and like positioning, whereas like 30% is aim and like just capitalizing and being better. I think he already has the 70% that a lot of people don't get. So realistically, you would just be working on mechanics more than anything else. So
Yeah.
I think you would actually get it a lot quicker than you think you would, because a lot of it's just game sense, getting down the, like what Wyatt was saying. And so I would give you 6 months. I think you would be up there.
Yeah. Thank you.
We're not sitting here
It's a compliment.
trying to convince you to make the swap.
Yeah, I'm not trying to
MK or
glaze,
nothing, but
but
we're
It's
just
a
saying that
figurative
you
question.
could if
Yeah.
you wanted to. You know.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, that's nice to hear. Some confidence. If God forbid they take away my baby, controller, put too much money into these things, only to get eventually sponsored by one. Then I just have like 30 laying around, like 20 laying around.
Yeah.
Most of them
will
are broken.
I will say from an outsider's perspective, like I obviously we've only talked to one time other than this. But it feels like you were extremely like just locked in right now. It feels like your vibe right now is just very, very focused, like very just lasered in. I just wanted you to speak to that a little bit, because it's almost like you're just ready to go now. Like that's what it feels like just talking to you here, seeing your focus, seeing all that. Like, has there been any, mindset going into that? Like what exactly has been going on in your mind up to this point?
You mean like right now being what?
Like
Just like
heading
the podcast.
Heading into the next chapter, podcast, whatever it may be. It just seems like you're very lasered in.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna play ranked with design after, because Finn was in my chat and saw that. But you're talking about like being here for the podcast, right?
Yeah.
I just need to, understand. Okay, so my mindset is all about complete the task as best as possible. That's why I give these super long questions or answers, from the questions you guys ask, because I want to really dive deep into things and have people understand me as a person. And that's a great question to ask me, because it kind of just is a question about me. It's not about like comp stuff or anything, but it's just me as a person. And I'm somebody that throughout life, believe it or not, I was a pretty smart kid. Still am a kid, but whatever. I got a scholarship at college at University of Miami. I was in the business school, and it's all about just if I got a test in front of me, I'm gonna nail it, and I'm gonna have studied for it as much as I had to have, So that's just me, I love just doing shit right, I guess. And when I don't do something right, I get in my head. And I'm sure Enoch has seen me changing my sense up and all this shit, or changing my res up, or even Finn if he's been around, Wyatt even, You guys know I'm a little like tweak. That's like the word I like to say with that shit. Just changing something up to see if it'll work or not. So I just like to be like almost perfect, but obviously you can never reach being perfect in my opinion. But it's a goal, because if you aim high, you land a little lower. So my mom used to say, you're still going to be in a good spot. So
it's like it's like a constant state of unfinished business.
Yes. It's always room to get better in anything, whether it's answering questions or whatever it is, helping people
Beautiful.
understand something, answering something in deep sense, whatever it is.
Beautiful, man. Well, this has been awesome. E, do you have your last one here?
Well, yeah. So since I can't really ask you the same question that I already asked, that I typically ask at the end, so I'm gonna mix it up, and I will say, so what is from the time we last interviewed you to now, what would you say has been the biggest thing you've learned about life, about yourself, outside of just Apex?
That's a good question. I've learned that I pushed myself too hard. Because at that point, I was off C9, and I really didn't work myself that hard back then. I don't think my stream was nearly as big as it got at some point after the podcast, the last time we talked here. And I feel like at one point I pushed myself way too hard, and I learned that, people always used to say, hey, balance is important, whatever, but those are the people that don't play saying that shit, So it's almost like, I don't know, just pushing yourself too hard is only bad for your mental health. It'll make your mental weak, and it'll make you more vulnerable to things like people kind of tearing you down, right? And you'll need to be built back up more frequently. But if you're already torn down, how can you build yourself up by not doing things right frequently? Then you're going to feel like you're a bad player. That was sort of like a LANimals flashback for me, because like I was being torn down, but I was never built up because I wasn't really like told that doing something simple was good, right? If that makes sense. So I got like a sort of like being lost in my own like thoughts and shit. So, you know, pushing yourself too hard makes your mental weak. And at some point, you don't get better when you're on hour 12 or 15, whatever the hell it is for you. Everyone's different, you know? So whether you're doing it for stream or not, you just, you know, you got to have a reason behind everything you do, in my opinion. So that's a good answer, I guess.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Well, Naughty, it was a pleasure having you back on the show. Hopefully we get to talk to you a little bit more here in the future with the MeatLovers. I'll be coming up with names right after this is done. While I'm editing, I'll get some names down for the team. And if you have anybody sending mean tweets to you, just at me. I'll just tack them. I'll just go ahead and attack them. So just let whatever you need. Whatever you need.
I'm good now. Everyone started to realize that, you know, like, you know, I don't deserve the hate. And I was saying, what the hell is this? Why am I getting hate and all this shit? So I was good.
Send them my way.
Thank you, though.
I got you. No,
I'm
it's
why? Be like, handle this guy.
I got
Something
you.
to be some random guy, 0 followers.
Yeah, I got
It's gonna be in the bottom of the tweet in the show section, where you don't want to open that, you know.
Yeah, no. Seriously though, it has been an honor watching you from afar, and wherever you go next, I'm going to be following, and we're all going to be watching really, really closely to see how you guys perform coming up here in the future. And once again, thank you for your time. I really appreciate you hopping on, as do the boys. So thank you, man. We'll talk to you soon. Hopefully next time there'll be a trophy case, or there'll be a trophy in your trophy case with the MeatLovers, man. Thank you.
Hey, if I make land, invite me on again and we'll talk.
No.
And then
I'll
get the strats.
When?
All right.
When? All right.
3 months
thanks,
for champs. All right, see you boys. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate it.
All right, ladies and gents, it is heart to heart time. Heart to heart time. Now, listen, show's gonna be a little bit shorter this week because not too much going on, and a lot of the questions we've seen so far are kind of like similar questions to ones we've answered in the past. So we're gonna give that a break at least for this week, and then we'll get back into it on the next one, barring any news, which probably will be some news coming in the next few weeks. It always happens that way. But, boys, let's get straight into the heart-to-heart. Does anybody want to go first?
I feel like I should go first.
Get it.
Okay, so today I was a pallbearer for one of my best friend's grandmothers, and it was interesting. You know, in some regards, I definitely viewed her as like, you know, another grandma type of deal. But I think today I was just like, wow. She was 92, right? So she was 92, and that's a pretty long time to be living, right? Like, man, that is a long time. And she got to see her great grandkids, like, and hang out with them. You know, they were like 13 years old, which is insane, right? My grandparents, I didn't even know. I mean, my grandpa I barely even knew, right? So I mean, before he died, and so I think that's just really cool. But one of the things that was talked about today was like during the service was that she lived a life worth like celebrating, and I think whenever it comes to remembering that is, man, that means like every single day you're trying to progress in some regard, because realistically you wake up, you're either progressing or you're getting worse. Like there's not really a whole staying still. Like you're either progressing or you're not. And so I think living a life worth celebrating is getting better at whatever it is in your life, whether it's one aspect a day or whatever you're trying to focus on, or, you know, I mean, whatever it is. And so finding something and progressing in that is my heart to heart, because I personally want to live a life worth celebrating whenever I die, you know? And so finding something each day to progress is something that I'm going to be working on.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff there. Enoch.
Yeah, so I'm coming off of having 2 weddings which were both amazing in their own right. And then for my friend's wedding, I got to be the best man, which was an experience. Definitely wasn't the best, definitely wasn't the worst, and I do think I killed the speech, which was something that I was putting a lot of pressure on myself on. I'm not gonna lie, there was parts of it where I was getting super emotional, and so I definitely had a decent amount of wet runs where I was practicing it, getting all the tears and shit out of the way, so then that way when I got up there, that I wouldn't be crying and all that, because that would have been bad. So got a little tear, but we pulled it together and it ended up working out great. But I've just been spending a lot of time with a lot of people that I love, and I'm just been more thankful and appreciative and just taking in all of the amazing people that I have in my life and that I've surrounded myself with. And I'm just trying to be more thankful and appreciative of that, and then take that gratitude that I have towards that and then just apply that to everything. And I ideally want to get to the point where everything that I look at in my life, I can be grateful for it, because the more things that I'm grateful for, the more things that I'll have to be grateful for. I'm a firm believer in that. And so, which it can be hard sometimes, because coming back from a break, things aren't always going to be looking as nice as they could, and you got to be grateful for the hills and the valleys and everything, and know that there's just so much to be grateful for. And so that would be my heart to heart. It's just want to be more grateful for everything that I got going on, because I have so much to be grateful for. Like, it's so silly to like allow myself to get caught up in any amount of like negative emotions about what I got going on, because if I ever all I have to do is I don't even have to zoom out too crazy far to just be like, oh wow, like life's pretty nice, and so I just want to make sure that I don't find myself tripping for no reason.
No, yeah, beautiful stuff. I think it's what you said earlier, where it was like when you come back from a break and you it's hard sometimes to be appreciative. When you come back from a break, like a great vacation, you come back and then you have to go back to the daily grind. There's never been a feeling of like I'm messing up so bad that I've ever had in my life. It's like one of those things you feel like you're on top of the world and then you're right back down to like where you were. And like, dude, there's been times where I come back from a vacation where I'm like, what am I doing? I'm just I'm recalibrating my whole life. So I definitely feel you on that. But yeah, beautiful stuff there. Beautiful stuff. Heart to heart from me this week. Yeah, I think mine would go into just appreciation, and like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I had a professor reach out to me for like a job offer. And this professor saw something in me when I was in broadcast school in Fresno, and she saw it the whole time. And she was also the only one to be hard on me. I remember we had to do this writing assignment, and I've always been able to write like really well. And I was like, this is easy. And I just like turned it in, and she was like, what the hell is this? And it was the first time I had been challenged in such a long time that I got mad. I was like, what do you mean? Like I didn't get mad at her, but like I got back to my table. I was like, what the fuck is she talking about? And then you start to realize like, oh, okay. And then you start to see it. And it wasn't like I was only mad because she was challenging me. I wasn't mad because she was wrong. Like, and then when I started like accepting what she was teaching me, I got so much better at what I was doing. And I owe basically where I'm at to her, because before I started going to school there, I didn't really have much going on. Like I wasn't doing a whole lot with my abilities. And so she really saw something in me, and she was basically on me the whole time. Like she was always there. The craziest part is she's been on the news every day at 5 a.m. since I was a kid. I remember my mom would turn on the TV and it would be her on the TV, and we'd watch it, and then we'd go to school. That was when I was like 5. And then all of a sudden I go into that class that day. I saw the name, but I didn't realize who it was until she walked in, and I was like, holy shit. So not only was there the surreal moment of somebody I had seen on TV my whole life growing up, but now she's my professor. Not only is she my professor, she's like, I see something in you, DMing me on Twitter being like, hey, I have this job that I think you'd be perfect for. I know you've been out of school for 2 years, but I'm still thinking about you. That's such a surreal thing. That's such a cool thing. And I don't think I'm going to get the job because they were really talking highly of this other candidate, which I'm not mad at, by the way. Like, I do have, like, I've talked about how much my job sucks sometimes, but it's good for my family and it's good for this show, because I think if I were to take this other job, I don't know I don't know how I'd be able to do this show. And so it's like good for both of those things, but just the thought of her reaching out and being like, hey, this is you're good at this stuff. Like, I try this, please. I just want you to be in this field, because she knows I'm not. Is such a cool thing. And yeah, it just kind of shows how, like, you never know when you meet somebody, like, what opportunities, what doors could open for you just by you being yourself, you having your own abilities and sticking with your talents and not really straying and trying to copy other people. I was always somebody who was trying to do my own thing, and she recognized that, and it's just awesome. It's just really cool. So I want to shout out her, and she's been the best. She was probably most influential professor slash teacher I've ever had. So shout out to her. You guys have anything else before we close this bad boy
I want to
out?
say this. Yeah, like, I think anybody that's listened to our show and has listened to you talk and has listened to your insight and the way that you communicate your thoughts and the way that you just overall your demeanor on the show, I think people can 100% see what she sees too. Like, you are made for this,
Appreciate
bro.
that.
Like, you really are. And so I don't know. It's cool. It's
Yeah.
cool that she got to have that much influence. You know, it's different if we say it, like if me and E say it, or but like hearing it from either our listeners or like someone that has had that much influence on you, and then she says that, it's just like, man, it's like a different type of an admiration. Another, like, a dang, I'm like, maybe I should do this, but you are so good at your job and what you do, like on this show, just is so apparent that I think I totally see what she sees too. So
I appreciate that, dude. I really
you
do.
bet.
Yeah.
No,
I
you're
wouldn't
gonna
be.
kill it.
Yeah. Thank you. I wouldn't be where I was without her. So it's just really cool, really surreal. And just like giving me her personal phone so I can call and like get the thing sorted out is just another level. Like, they easily could have been emailed, all that. It's like, no, I want you in there figuring it out. So very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. And I'm very appreciative of meeting somebody like that, because even if this opportunity doesn't go my way, odds are there's going to be some other ones in the future that she's like, hey, do this, do that. She even, one time she had me talk to like the main broadcaster of like the Arizona Coyotes, which is insane. Like, with the hockey background I had, like having a conversation with him, and obviously I'm fresh out of college, I'm not getting like a job, but getting to talk to somebody like that is insane. Like, it's all thanks to her. So
That's tight.
shout out her. She's the best. She is the greatest. That should just about round it out for the show, ladies and gents. We appreciate you guys for hopping back on with us here. Action's going to start ramping up here pretty soon, and we've got some special guests coming on the way. It's going to be awesome. We cannot wait to get into the rest of the season here, where it's only just beginning. And then guess what happens? When it ends, we got more right after that. So we're just continuing to chug along. If you haven't checked us out on the YouTube, consider it. Give us a chance. I am one of those guys who likes to only listen to audio stuff, but usually the podcasts I listen to don't have this attractive of a panel of people. I mean, look at us. We look really, really good. If you haven't seen us yet, you're missing out. I promise you that. So you want to check out the YouTube. Yeah, you can check out my tats and rate which one you thought was the best. Also, down below, in the link below, you can click follow along to all of our socials. I'll check all of that stuff out. It'll be good. And then that should just about round it out. So, ladies and gents, without further ado, we'll catch you guys next week. See.
Peace.